Hello and welcome everyone to Sugar-Coated Homestead support videos. Sugar-Coated Homestead is a paid pattern for which you will find the link below this video. All proceeds of this pattern go to a Ukrainian refugee and her family. To crochet your own sugar-coated homestead, you will need the pattern. In these support videos, I will only be walking you through the parts that have proven to be a headache file. So like the icing on the roof, the snow around the base of the house, and of course, building the cardboard structure. And then I will have some extra tips here and there. So that's what these videos will be about. The written pattern for Sugar-Coated Homestead is 46 pages long, and because of that, the file needed to be reduced to fit into Ravelry. And this week I discovered that pages were cut in the most mysterious ways during that reducing. The most obvious thing that went wrong during that reducing is that the copyright and page number are no longer on the same line. I will be using Hobby Twister Solid and a hook size 3mm for this house that I will be crocheting with you now. It will be slightly smaller than this one here. This yarn was thicker. All parts of the main structure of this house, like the walls and the roof, all start with a chain and a single crochet in the back bump. And I will show you how part A is this part here, how that is made. Part A, row 1 says chain 23 loosely, and it says loosely because you are going to work in the back bumps when you are going to go into row 2. The back bumps are there. So if you turn your chain upside down, these little bumps here are the back bumps. So you chain 23, one chain is the turning chain, and you are going to single crochet in the back bumps. The first back bump is this one here. So just work in those, and that is row 2 of part A, single crocheting in those back bumps. And as you can see, it's a little bit fiddly, but it is neat. And then I have an alternative for you. Instead of chaining and working into the back bumps, you can also make an I-cord. And when I was writing the pattern at the time, I had never made an I-cord, and now I'm wiser. And I suggest making an I-cord, it's much easier. So measure down 3 times the length that you are going to need for the chain that you are going to make. So the 23 stitch chain was about this length, and I'm going to pick up the yarn there. And with a slip stitch on my hook, I am going to make the I-cord. Hold the yarn that you just measured down towards you. That's the yarn under which you insert the hook under. Yarn over with the working yarn and pull through 2 loops. That is the first stitch. And this is the way you can make an I-cord. And as you can see, this is much easier. This is combining rows 1 and 2 together. So instead of chaining and single crocheting in the back bumps, you are just making 22 I-cord stitches. Be aware that you make 22 stitches and not 23. The 23rd stitch on the chain was the turning chain. So this is the way to start all those facade and roof pieces. And I suggest this way because I think this is much easier and very neat as well. When your I-cord has the number of stitches needed for the part that you are working on, you are ready for round 3 or row 3. So chain 1 for row 3. I like to make my chain 1 before I turn, and the first single crochet is going to be made in the last stitch of the previous row. The chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and you are going to single crochet all the way to the other side into both loops of every stitch of the previous round. So this round might still be a bit tricky because you don't have much to hold on to there. But this is what is to be done. So single crochet all the way to the other side, to the end. I'm at the end of row 3 here. I'm going to chain 1, turn, and start with row 4. Rows 4, 5, and 6 are a repeat of row 3. So rows 4, 5, and 6, 3 lines already, and your check will be that your hook is at the same side as the starting yarn end, or this yarn end here. Anyway, we are on to row 7. Chain 1 and 7. Pattern says skip 8 stitches and place a marker in the 9th stitch. So let's do that. 1, 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Let's place a marker here. And we are on to row 8. Chain 1 and turn. 7 single crochet, 1 and 7. Make sure you use both loops of those stitches. There you are. Rows 9 to 15 are a repeat of row 8. So 7 rows and 7 single crochet in each row. So chain 1 in the beginning of each row and 7 single crochet. And keep count. At the end of row 15, this is what your work should look like. Cut the yarn and pull it up and out. And then continue attaching yarn in the marked stitch here. So I removed the stitch marker, and to be sure, it's supposed to be the 9th stitch. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9th. And that's the stitch we're going to attach the yarn in with a slip stitch. And chain 1 and 7 single crochet. And the first single crochet is made in the same stitch as the chain stitch was made in. So 7 single crochet to the end of this row. So after the slip stitch and chain 1, I have 7 single crochets here, and the pattern says that I should do 9 rows of 7 single crochets. This was the first row, 8 more, and I'll get back to you when I've done those. This is what your work should look like after those 9 rows. And now I will continue on row 16. It says chain 1, of course, and 7 single crochet. 1 and 7. Chain 8 loosely, and that is done loosely because you are going to be working in the back bumps of the chain stitches, and it's quite impossible to work in there if you are making it too tight. 2, 4, 6, 7, and 8. Continue on the other side of the window, and that's this side here where you cut the yarn before, and 7 more single crochet. There you go. I'm just going to pull this yarn end tight here and then work over it so that it's going to be on the side. So that was the first single crochet, 6 more to the end. So this is your work after round 16, and we're going into round 17 now. Chain 1, turn your work, and 7 single crochet. And this is number 7. Now we need to do 8 single crochet in the back bumps of the chain stitches. The back bump of the first stitch is very hard to find. So it's hiding down there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those back bumps are clear. I'm just going to make the first single crochet in just one loop of that first stitch here. So that's another tip. Don't worry too much. That's number 1. And then we need to find the other 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. and you'll see that they tend to hide a bit. Number 2, and number 8 is this one here. After that, 7 more single crochet to the end, and we're into row 18. Chain 1, turn, and 22 single crochet. Row 18 done. Rows 19 to 24 are a repeat of row 18, 6 rows in total, each row starting with a chain 1 and 22 single crochet in each row. This is what the facade number A is looking like after row 24. On with row 25, chain 1 and a decrease. And that's the next thing I would like to show you. For the decrease, insert your hook in the first stitch, that's the last stitch of the previous row. Pick up a loop, insert your hook in the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. That is the decrease. Single crochet to the end of the row. And now that I've shown you that, you will be able to finish the last 15 rows of this facade. Just keep going, and then I will get back to you when I'm at row 41. All the decreases are done in the same manner that I just showed you. This is what facade A is looking like now. I just finished row 39 here. You've been doing decreases all along the sides here at the beginning of each row, and there are 2 more rows to be done. I will show you row 40. It's not very different, but a little bit different. So chain 1, turn, and a decrease. That's not different than we are used to. So starting the row with a decrease here, 2 single crochet, 1, 2, another decrease, and that was row 40. Chain 1, row 41, 2 decrease, 1, and here's number 2. Cut your yarn and pull it up and out. And this is facade part A. Here are all the crocheted parts of the facade. I have just crocheted this part A with you. This part hasn't been blocked yet, the others have been blocked. And in this part I already made the icing around the window, and I will be showing you that next. In the pattern it is done later, after the parts are put together, but I noticed that it's really easier to do it now before you connect all the parts. Before starting on the icing, make sure you work on the same side of your crocheted parts at all times. So I have all the starting yarn ends to the left, and this is the front of all the facades. So here we go for the icing. I have my yarn end to the left here, so I know that it's going to be on the front, like I did on this part here. And the icing around the 4 larger same-sized windows, that's these 4 windows here. These 2 on part A and this one on the rear facade. So those 4 windows are going to be get the icing in the exact same manner. And the pattern for that is on page 25. The number 25 is on the right hand corner, upper right hand corner of the page. Attach yarn with a slip stitch in the lower right hand corner of the window frame. So let's do that. There you go. And we're going to do some slip stitching, and then you're going to keep your working yarn at the back of your work. Along the lower and upper frames, insert the hook under both loops of the stitch, so this one here, and pull up the yarn, and we're going to slip stitch along the lower side, 9 slip stitch along this lower side here. So that was number 1, 2, and number 9 in this corner here. Then you're going to go turn your work and work along the length, the height of the window, 10 slip stitches along the left window frame, and you're going to be working in these little holes here. For that 10th slip stitch, insert your hook here. This is too close to the edge, so insert your hook here. That's number 10. Turn the corner and 9 slip stitch to the other side, inserting your hook in these parts here. That's the easiest. And there's number 9. Turn the corner again and 10 slip stitch to the starting point there. And 10 would be here, you would think, but I'm going to make it here. So it's 10 or 11, it's not a big deal. This is what it should look like. So this was round 1 of the icing around the 4 windows. For round 2, chain 1, you're not cutting yarn yet, so chain 1, skip 1 stitch, so skip the stitch, and 7 single crochet in the back loop of these stitches that you just made. So 1, and there's number 7. Skip 2 stitches, these 2, and continue with 8 single crochet on the side. So 1 and number 8. Skip 2 stitches in the corner again, skipping these 2, and 7 single crochet in the back loops up here, and 7. Skip 2 stitches and 8 single crochet to where we started, and 8. Skip 2 stitches and slip stitch to the first single crochet down here. Leave your yarn attached. This was round 2 of the icing around the window. For round 3, simplified, just slip stitch above all these front loops of the first round of this icing. So insert your hook just above that stitch and pull up the yarn. You're going to have your working yarn at the back, and you're just going to slip stitch all around and insert your hook just above that loop here of round 1. Those 2 corner stitches were skipped before, so we have 2 loops of each stitch there. Insert your hook between those 2 loops and then pick up a loop at the back and pull it up and out. It's a bit fiddly, but you can do it. And here's the second stitch. Insert your hook between those 2 loops and pull up the yarn, and then continue slip stitching as before. That last stitch made in the starting stitch is going to be made here. It's a bit distorted, but this is it. So if you slip stitch down there, you will have a nice straight window frame. So there we are. And this is the end of round 3 of the window frame. Do not cut your yarn yet. We are ready for round 4. Before we can crochet round 4, you will need to measure about 150 centimeters of this yarn and pull it up there. Otherwise there's no way we can start there, and or you will have lots of yarn ends. So 1.5 meters, somewhere about that length. I've cut my yarn, and I'm just going to pull that yarn length up to the front. I'm going to leave this here. We're going to insert the needle in there in a minute again. Just get that there. And I'm going to pull the yarn length that I just cut up at a different point. I'm going to pull it up here. So, and that's what we're going to work with. So now you can insert your hook in this stitch again, and we can start with round 4. Round 4 is all about 1, 2, 3 and 4. Skip 1 stitch and slip stitch in the next. And if you are a stitch off, it doesn't really matter that much. This is going to be that loopy icing around the windows. You can make it as big or as small as you like. So I chain 4, skip 1 and slip stitch. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip 1, slip stitch in the next. And you're slip stitching in the stitches of round 3. This is what the end of round 4 looks like. After that last slip stitch, if your yarn end is still long enough, don't cut it yet, because then we will use it for the rods in the window and it will save you even more yarn ends. Just pull your hook up and out, and with a darning needle I'm going to work this yarn end to the starting point for the first rod. I'll show you in a minute. If that yarn end isn't long enough for you, attach yarn at the starting point for the rod here in the middle here. Insert that last bit of yarn to the back with a darning needle and get it halfway this frame here. So just insert it there a bit and then pull it up there, and then that's where we will start working with it again. So here's that yarn end that I just moved over here with the darning needle, and I'm going to make the rods for the windows now in the pattern that is described on page 35 and 36. Why not directly after these window frames, you would think? I thought of them later in the process, so that's when they came up. Anyway, that's why it's so late in the pattern. But it's a good idea to make them now. So pull up a stitch and chain 11. If your chains are looser, chain less, and you will move to the top there. So chain 11. I even only chained 9. Slip stitch to the middle stitch at the top here in the window frame. Pull your yarn up and out. And then with a darning needle, secure that stitch down there and move your yarn to the side there with the darning needle. And then we will make that horizontal rod. And somewhere in the middle here, just insert your hook and pull up a loop. Now you will chain to the other side, and halfway we'll chain over this vertical rod here. So chain 3, or as many chains as you need. 1, 2, 3, and that's me halfway. And then I'm just going to move this yarn end to the other side of that rod. So, and then chain over the rod, the vertical rod, and 3 more. 1, 2, 3. And this little yarn end is going to be worked away on that side there. And now you can work away all the yarn ends, and this whole part can be blocked, and you can block the icing. So that's another plus point by doing the icing at this point in the pattern. It's easier to block. So I'm going to secure this down here, and then put the icing around all the other windows as well. After crocheting parts A to E, and after adding all the icing around the windows, you are ready to connect the parts. The layout is shown on page 6 of the pattern, and we are just going to sew these parts together along these seams here with the yarn ends that are still available down here. I'll be sewing these parts together with a very simple stitch, crossing over between sides every time, and don't worry about visible stitches, and it doesn't need to be too tight as long as it's closed. and the corners will be covered by the candy canes at a later stage. When you're at the top of the seam, you can weave away this yarn end. When the crocheted parts are connected, as you see below here, it is time to build the cardboard structure. I have used 2 flaps of carton of a cardboard box here. You can use any cardboard you like, as long as it has a bit of stiffness. And with a ruler and a pencil, I'm going to draw around these parts of the crocheted parts and then cut them out. I've drawn the first part here, and what you check is that the height on this side is the same height as that side, and also that these sides are the same length, and that this is in the middle of the door opening. You can cut the door opening out a little bit bigger because you don't want to see any cardboard sticking out when you're looking inside the house. So this can be a bit bigger, and cut this out along the lines. I've cut the cardboard piece out, and I'm just going to fit this on top of here and see whatever pieces are still sticking out. It's cardboard, you can easily cut some more off if it's too big. So I'm going to cut some a little edge off here and a little edge of the bottom here. And what I didn't cut yet was the window. I'm just going to draw a little line here inside the window, and that too can be cut out just a little bit bigger so that it doesn't. So I'm going to cut this out just a bit bigger so that you do not see cardboard when you're looking inside the house. There's the window in there as well, fitting one more time, and that looks perfect to me. So we're going to do the same with this next bit here. It's a bit bigger. So check that the heights of these rooftops are the same and that the heights of the walls are the same everywhere. And then draw and cut in the same manner as I just showed you. And there is cardboard part number 2. Cut out any bits of carton that you still see sticking out. The cardboard parts will need to be folded, and one fold is going to be here and one fold is going to be there, and I'm going to make a light incision there with a cutter so that it is easier to fold around the corners there. I'll show you what I'm talking about. There's going to be a fold here, so make sure it's straight, and that's good when you're using a cutting mat like I am here. So I'm going to make a small incision along this line here, so not cut through the whole paper, the whole cardboard, just make an incision there and make an incision on that side as well. There you go. And then you can make a neat fold. On this part, the folds are less obvious. This fold is coming to the front. This fold is going to the back. And then there's a fold here and here. So these 2 folds are folding in front. So I'm going to cut incision in front here. Not cut through the complete cardboard. So one incision there and one over there. So this will fold forward. There you go. Now this needs to fold that way. So we're going to cut at the back there. So those cuts are going to be made in the back. And I'm just going to turn this around and draw the mark again. So here and here, and just make an incision there. And this is just cardboard. If you cut wrong, you just cut a new piece, because it can happen. So, and now these fold the other way. Did I make the incision here? Yeah. So this is the other part of the house. So this and this together will make the base of your house. With a hot glue gun or tape, or whichever method you prefer, connect these two sides together and these two sides together, and your main structure will be ready. And then also connect these two parts and that side to that side, and you will have the sleeve to fit over the cardboard. Here's my cardboard frame, and here's the crocheted house so far. This will fit over that cardboard, but it won't be perfect yet. Don't worry about that. It still needs a roof and a lot of work. I am going to use these 3 yarn ends here just to keep those tops up, just to get the right picture. So you will see, you will get the general idea now. So there's still a lot of work to be done. First of all, at the front, this needs to be tightened in there, and we will need to make a structure around the door frame here to keep that in place as well. I'm going to do that in a next support video. I think you have enough to do now already. Just let me know if you need to know anything else. And crochet all your parts, crochet the roof parts as well. And next time I will continue with the roof and icing on the roof and connecting the roof on this structure here. So thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful, and see you again next time.